Let's talk to someone who I think probably knows. She's very politically experienced. She's my old co-host, talk presenter, Alex Phillips. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Kev. Look, you haven't got a white shirt on. You've gone pinstripe.
I know. I'm trying to sort of... Well, there's a lot of vacancies in the cabinet at the moment, so I'm hoping that I might be appointed to some job or other when some of those idiots make more of these comments. Now, obviously, Alex, today is a good day to discuss this. Obviously, Andrew Gwynn and Oliver Ryan, the two awful Labour MPs who are so disparaging about the ordinary people who support that party. Obviously, they deserve their fate, and to be fair to Keir, he acted swiftly and correctly. But this is the latest catastrophe. Day in, day out, this party seems to stumble from one self-created balls up to the next. As I say, on a very, very minor level, it's emerged now that in the first 3 months of his faltering premiership, this Prime Minister spent more than £700,000 of taxpayers' money on aeroplane flights to foreign countries. Donald Trump has been President of America for a month, has stayed almost resolutely in Washington. You don't have to fly around the world. Well, how would you... What's going wrong for this party? What's the essence of it?
They're thick. They're just really thick, aren't they? And this is the...
Thanks very much, Alex. It's been great talking. No, seriously, go on.
Interview, bye. I'm going to go. No, but they're really thick, aren't they? The thing is, like, when it comes to... Let's go back to the WhatsApp messages and the WhatsApp groups. I don't want to live in a world where anybody loses their job because they've been having banter in a private WhatsApp group. Now, that is a rule that has to apply to everyone. So that has to apply to whether it's my surgeon or whether it's a Reform Party candidate or whether it's a Labour cabinet minister. You know, what jokes in a WhatsApp group are jokes in a WhatsApp group. However bawdy, however tasteless, that is what they are. And I don't want to live in a world where people are persecuted because of that. But, and here is the big but, I like big buts and I cannot lie, basically it's the Labour Party who've brought in this attack on free speech. It's their ideology. It's their version of fascism. So live by the sword, die by the sword. And this is what I mean by they're thick. They can't think about the next move. They came out of the blocks, didn't they, with their ultra-left-wing ideology. Oh, net zero everything, GB Energy, that fake news company that doesn't even have any employees and have already cost about £9 billion or something. And they can't actually execute anything because they're stupid people. You just look at Angela Rayner. You look at the quality of all of these people. Andrew Gwynn, again, thick. If you're someone who is in politics, whether you're a councillor, whether you're an MP, or even if you're the chairman of a football club, perhaps don't make bawdy jokes inside a WhatsApp group. Right?
Absolutely.
The nature of politics is you kind of think, you know, it's the old adage of don't write it down if you don't want someone to read it in the future. You have to just be a bit careful. And the reason I say this, I don't want people to be persecuted for what they say in WhatsApp groups, but if an idiot has done something, they're in a position of seniority, well, you're stupid, aren't you? Could you imagine someone like Rupert Lowe being part of a WhatsApp group with banter? The man's a class act. He wouldn't have done that. You know, so again, it just exposes how incompetent and stupid these people are, which is why they think their radical ideology is A, popular, and B, can actually, you know, be actualised. It can't.
I'll tell you where I think Labour are going wrong. The Tories began to show signs of this back in the day when your friend David Cameron was the Prime Minister. And yeah, I know you don't like him much, and I'm with you on that. Do you remember when he talked about the Tory party members in the shires? The people who are the backbone of that party started calling them swivel-eyed lunatics, looking down on them, saying that they're right-wing nutters. So there's that. Once these political elites in Westminster start looking down on the people for whom they rely on for votes, then I think they're in bad trouble. Now, the Tories aren't too bad at that. I think they try and keep some respect for their supporters. They try their best, at least the more intelligent members of the party do. And Reform UK, I think, are very much in tune. They make a point of being very in tune with their supporters. They want their supporters to be the kind of guy people who could sit across the table with Nigel Farage and, you know, chew the fat, discuss the issues, man-to-man, equal basis. That's what Reform UK are trying to do, and quite successfully. Now, where this really falls out of kilter is with the Labour Party. The Labour Party, for many years, Blair was a shocker, all that lot were. For many years, they've been looking down on their own supporters, particularly the white working class. Do you remember, of course, Emily Thornberry when she went to Thanet and took that picture of the St George's flags all over a house, no doubt a Labour supporter's house, and went, the view from Thanet. How awful. Ed Miliband, the then leader, was absolutely furious and sacked her, if you remember. A rare moment of sanity from Crazy Ed. Then you had the election. Remember Gordon Brown, when that perfectly nice old lady said, I'm a bit worried about the migrant crisis. He's overheard 3 minutes saying, put it next to that bigoted woman, bigoted. Well, she wasn't bigoted. She wasn't bigoted. And now we've got this. We've got Gwyn looking down on. That's the problem. Labour are infested with these people, these elitists who look down on their own supporters, and that is a recipe for disaster.
Well, that's because left wing is basically just bullying. Being left wing is just being a bully. The only reason people on the left, but basically people who are sort of fundamentally ideologically left wing are people with a massive chip on their shoulder. Therefore, the only people that they like, everybody else is a threat. If you've been successful, you're a threat. If you're not disadvantaged in some way, you're a monster. So the only people they like are people that they think in their head they can beat down on because, oh, look, I'm friends with someone who's a refugee. Oh, poor them. Oh, I'm friends with this man who's got like boobs and a beard. Oh, poor them, poor little mentally ill person. That's what they love. They love a victim because they think of themselves as victims. And anybody else who doesn't join that is somebody that they have to hate because they're bullies. And the whole way that left-wingery functions is almost a sort of translation of bullying, whether it's through taxation. You've been successful, I'm going to nick your lunch money. Whether it's through an attack on free speech. You seem to get away with having fun and not being miserable. I'm going to prevent you saying anything. You know, it's just a form of resentment and spite. I think it was Margaret Thatcher who said socialism was the politics of envy. And it's true. And the way that the left wing sort of give themselves a pat on the back is they pretend to shower themselves with this moral rectitude. I'm better than all of you because my child is non-binary. I'm better than all of you because I go and, you know, I've been down to visit, help, you know, care for Calais and given some soup to a rapist. You know,
exactly right.
These people, they actually don't have the courage of conviction of going, well, actually, this is my country, these are my people, this is my tribe, and I like them, and I want to work for them for the betterment of them.
And don't forget that Keir Starmer, he imbues what we're talking about. He really hates the working classes. He really hates traditional Labour supporters. And when he pointed the finger in the summer at the rioters in Southport and all the other towns, gone far-right thugs, far-right thugs. OK, he wasn't really just talking about the rioters. He was talking about anyone who's worried about the migrant crisis. So anyone who thinks this migrant crisis, I don't think it's very good for this country. As far as Keir Starmer's concerned, you might not be a rioter, but you're still a far-right thug. He hates his supporters too.
Right, and do you know the reason he's done this is because successive governments haven't managed this situation. We are not just, you know, about to approach a crisis. The crisis is here. The crisis is already in Rotherham and Rochdale and Oldham. The crisis is in the grooming gangs. The crisis is in the over £1 billion worth of funding that's being paid to one company alone, in the Northwest alone, to put migrants in hotels and buy them PlayStations. The crisis is already upon us. It's very clear. Our economy is struggling. The fabric of society is breaking apart. Young people don't want to live here and think that we're all racist. Millionaires are upping and leaving, really harming the exchequer. Farmers are protesting in Westminster. The crisis is here. And the crisis of immigration happened a long time ago.
It did. Now, I'm
hard to reverse. So instead, the only thing they can resort to manage the crisis is name call at anybody who points out there is a crisis.
Yeah, absolutely right, Alex. Very wise words. And I'm glad you brought out the rape gang scandal, because you've made what seems to me, I haven't seen it yet, but it seems like a very important film. It's about the rape crisis, not only in this country, but in Western countries all over the world. Rape is absolutely rocketing. And you've made a documentary, I think, for the New Cultural Forum. Let's have a look at a clip and then you can explain it.
16,000 incidents of reported rapes in the United Kingdom. By 2022, this increased to over 69,000, less than a decade on, more than a 400% increase. This harrowing trend echoes throughout Western Europe, from Finland to Denmark, Sweden, Germany and France. But why?
What's the film called, Alex?
Yeah, we haven't. It's called. Oh God, was it? I can't remember what it's called. Britain's Rape Epidemic, I think it's called. Right. The thing is, right? Okay, so you remember, because you were sitting by my side when back on good old Crosstalk.
We've still got it. It's like a sort of knee-jerk. Oh, Crosstalk. Yeah. Anyway, go on. Sorry, that's serious stuff. Go on.
I mentioned that my own lived experience, to coin a term of the left, of being a woman in London, was that I was getting followed down the street more. I was getting people sort of, approach me and say, oh, you're beautiful. Why don't you smile? People, I like you. Please talk to me. Following, harassing. And I said that these aren't people who are born and bred in Britain who know that you don't do that. These are people who are going like, oh, yeah, blonde-haired woman, I'm going to try my luck, and just persistently, to an uncomfortable and frightening level, pursue me. And I said, that's my experience. And when I speak to other women in London, that's their experience. And when I made this comment, it went viral, didn't it? It went viral because people went, yeah, that's true. That's happening. But no one at that point had dared mention it. Well, interestingly, now we are in a situation where other countries are talking about this a lot more. If you want on social media, you've probably seen videos of women in Germany and France and the Netherlands and Sweden all talking about this phenomenon. And what those countries have done as well is collate criminal data, which is something our country doesn't do. Again, why? Because we're already in the crisis. So the only way is to pretend there isn't one. That's what the authorities think is the best approach. Other countries actually keep data on crimes by nationality, let's say. So you can look at the data from Denmark, from Sweden, from Germany, from the Netherlands, and see actually that proportionally a vast amount of sexual assaults and rapes, and these are the things that have been reported where people have been convicted, are being perpetrated by men largely from the Middle East and North Africa. When you look at it on a ratio of per capita basis, and even then it's sort of like 56%, I think, in Denmark is foreign-born nationals. Now, these are the things that have been convicted crimes. So we're not actually talking about the street harassment. And also, when you look at the number of rapes that are being reported, it's hugely gone up. To make these points in the toxic environment we now live in, you've got to give people data. So they can't turn around and go, you're making this up because you hate brown people. You're making this up because you're a xenophobe. You're making this up because you're an Islamophobe. You need to actually say to people, here are the statistics. And actually, just before going into edit, The Telegraph did a fantastic story where they had used prison population data from the year before, the only data available. And guess what? When we looked at that, it corroborated what we'd seen happening around Europe. So it's a really important documentary in a sense of saying this is a crisis. Women and girls are far less safe in Europe now as a direct consequence of mass immigration. And we have provided the evidence.
And does it basically align with this single statistic? Is this something that plays out around Europe? This emerged last week. Almost 2/3 of those convicted of rape in Sweden in jail are first or second generation immigrants. Is that what we're talking about?
Right, so if you look at talk about that Telegraph article where they actually based it upon people who are serving time in prisons, because that's some of the only data we do have where it breaks down crimes and nationality, and it's the prison population. So people who have been convicted and proven, and we all know the conviction rate of rape is very low and the reporting rate is low. But when you look at that, and just from 1 year, that's the only sample size we've got, it shows that foreign nationals are 3 times more likely to have committed rape and be in prison for it than a British.
And this is the taboo that we're not allowed to confront, isn't it?
Yeah, and actually the other thing this documentary does is, like I said, when you look at the statistics and break it down both in the UK and European countries as to when we talk about foreign nationals, what might be the common denominator, it's largely overrepresentative of people from North Africa and the Middle East, i.e. Muslim countries. And what I've done is speak to a lot of people from those backgrounds, and I've had to speak to apostates, because if I spoke to most Muslims and said, oh, by the way, you know, what's the Muslim attitude to women, you know, they're not going to say, oh, it's really bad, actually, it's terrible. And there'll be some people, sensible people like Rakib Ehsan, who's a, you know, great commentator who comes on Talk, who would be able to have a great conversation about this and say plenty of moderate Muslims are very respectful and don't think that way.
Of
but
course.
there is a dark underbelly of people, especially from more less developed countries, who do have those medieval attitudes. And those are a lot of the people who have migrated over here. It isn't all the nuclear scientists and the doctors, is it?
So this is important stuff, Alex. How can people get to see this?
Right, so either you follow New Culture Forum on X or follow me on X, and the link's there, or you can go on YouTube and look up Britain's Rape Epidemic or the New Culture Forum, and you will find it there. And what I would say, and it's not for my own sort of celebrity, but what I would say is, if you think this is an important subject and actually the truth does need to go out, watch it and share it. Because unless we are in a position where more people are waking up to this, there are a lot of people out there, especially women, who've got no idea. They might watch Talk, they might vote Liberal Democrat, and, you know, in their minds think that all people coming over on boats or whatever it may be, or lovely, kind people, maybe they are, maybe a lot of them are, but they won't actually know the truth. And unless these people, and women especially, wake up and go, whoever they vote for, and especially those people, right, who aren't our viewers. So if you're a viewer of Talk and you've watched that, send it to your left-wing mates and say, look, did you know the truth of the situation? Here's the statistics. Because unless people wake up and see that stuff, they'll just consume other forms of media which say it's all hunky-dory and talking about this stuff is racist. And we have huge difficulties ahead of us unless we can really expose the reality.
We've got to confront the truth. That's the problem with so many contentious issues in societies, Western societies today, is we're terrified to confront the truth because the truth can sometimes be uncomfortable. And the truth seems to be here, potentially, that the reason for this explosion of rapes in Western countries is the continuing invasion of immigrants from different cultures. So you dare to say the impossible there, Alex, so well done. And just before you go, on a much more shallow basis, I gather you've met a couple of fans of ours down drinking cider, as you're wont to do in Gloucester. We've got a picture. Tell us. There they are. There you are. Crosstalk.
Crosstalk. They used to be huge fans of Kevin, Alex and Crosstalk. So this is Heartland Cider and Perry Press in a village called Turley outside of Gloucester. And you know me, I always have to go and find the proper stuff. So we turned up and I just, oh, look, can I have a go on your scrumpy, please? And Derek, who's there on the right, he said, I know you. Do I know you? You're on telly, aren't you? And I said, oh, really? And that's David, his brother, on the left there. Anyway, massive fans of Kevin, Alex, and love Talk, watch us all the time. And can I just say, their cider is amazing. It's everything I'm looking for. It's the proper real deal. So if you're passing through Gloucestershire, or even if you're not, go there. Heartlands, go see Derek, go see David. You can see their cider press. They let you taste everything. You can fill up containers. Proper farmhouse stuff. We're talking sort of it's like 11 quid for 5 litres or something. So basically £1 a pint.
Wow, that's a good deal. And I bet you get your money's worth with that stuff. Listen, Alex, fantastic to talk to you, and we'll get you on again very, very soon. How are you feeling, by the way? Just before you go, how are you feeling?
Bit peaky. It's the flu that I just can't get rid of. I've got all this sort of tinnitus and dizziness, but that's the cider. The cider's actually
drink yourself fit like you usually do. Alex, great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Alex Phillips there, my fellow Talk presenter.